The emergency broadcast cut through every screen on Earth simultaneously. Owen pressed his palm against the cold glass of the observation deck, watching the last transport vessel pull away from Luna's diplomatic quarter. Inside that ship sat Ambassador Talvek of the Heathran Confederacy, the final alien representative to maintain contact with humanity. The vessel's engines flared blue, then it vanished into the darkness between stars. Silence. That was the word everyone kept using. The galactic communication networks that had hummed with constant traffic for 30 years simply stopped. No farewell messages, no diplomatic protests, no explanation whatsoever. 47 embassies across human space emptied in less than 6 hours. The aliens took their technology, their trade goods, even the furniture. They left behind empty buildings and a species trying to understand what they had done wrong. Still nothing from the council relay? Owen asked without turning around. His supervisor, a woman named Patricia with 20 years in the Interstellar Communications Bureau, shook her head. The channel's open, but nobody's answering. It's like screaming into a void. Owen had been the junior analyst who first noticed the pattern. Small things at first. Scheduled trade convoys mysteriously rerouted. Diplomatic meetings canceled without explanation. Research partnerships quietly dissolved. Then yesterday, a single transmission from the Galactic Council headquarters. 3 sentences that changed everything. By unanimous decision of the assembled species, humanity is hereby designated as quarantined. All contact is suspended indefinitely. This decision is final and not subject to appeal. No reasons, no timeline, no mercy. The financial markets crashed within minutes. 40% of Earth's economy depended on galactic trade. Food shipments from agricultural worlds stopped mid-transit. Medical supplies that treated previously incurable diseases were now simply gone. Construction projects using alien materials ground to a halt, leaving half-built towers standing like monuments to abandoned dreams. Owen watched the news feed scroll past. Riots in Singapore, protests outside the United Nations. A religious leader in Cairo declaring it divine judgment. Everyone wanted answers that didn't exist. I found something, Patricia said quietly. She transferred a file to Owen's display. It was a fragment of an intercepted communication, captured 3 days before the official quarantine announcement. The encryption was military grade, but human quantum computers had cracked it. Owen read the translation twice to be sure he understood. The human contagion spreads faster than we anticipated. Their emotional reasoning infects even our most disciplined diplomats. Species Alpha must be isolated before the instability becomes irreversible. Species Alpha, that was humanity's designation in galactic databases. They're afraid of us, Owen said. Not our weapons or our technology, they're afraid of how we think. Patricia sat down heavily. We've been trying to figure out what we did wrong. What if we didn't do anything wrong? What if being human is what scares them? The global summit convened 2 days later. Every nation sent representatives to Geneva. Owen watched from the observation gallery as presidents and prime ministers argued about humanity's response. Some wanted to beg for readmission. They proposed changing human culture, suppressing emotion, adopting galactic social models. Others demanded aggressive expansion. If the galaxy saw humanity as a threat, they argued humanity should become one. President Amara Okafor of the African Union let them argue for 6 hours. Then she stood, and somehow her presence commanded silence. I have listened to proposals for surrender and proposals for war, she said. Both assume the galaxy's opinion of us matters more than our opinion of ourselves. I reject this assumption. The chamber erupted in overlapping voices. Okafor waited. They called us a contagion, she continued. They fear our emotional reasoning, our tendency to cooperate across boundaries, our inability to simply follow orders without question. These are not flaws. These are the things that make us human. If the galaxy cannot accept us as partners, we will forge our own path. Alone, someone called from the floor. Together, Okafor corrected. Every human, every nation, every dream we've ever had. We built cities that touched the clouds before we met a single alien. We split the atom, mapped our genome, sent probes beyond our solar system. All of it done by ourselves for ourselves. The galaxy gave us shortcuts, yes, but shortcuts to where? To becoming something we're not. Owen found himself nodding. I propose the Unity Accord, Okafor declared. Every nation commits to full cooperation. We pool our resources, share all knowledge, abandon old rivalries, not because aliens demand it, but because we choose it. We build a future where being human is enough, where our children don't grow up ashamed of their emotions or their compassion, where standing alone means standing together. The vote took 17 hours. In the end, every delegation signed. Owen returned to Luna 3 weeks later. The diplomatic quarter was being converted. The empty alien embassies would become research centers, schools, hospitals, places where humans would learn from each other instead of waiting for alien approval. He stood at the same window where he'd watched the last alien ship depart, but this time he wasn't looking at the emptiness. He was watching the construction crews beginning their work, humanity rebuilding from within. His comm chimed, a message from Patricia. First human-only supply convoy just launched from Mars. No alien tech in the engines. We did it ourselves. Owen smiled. The galaxy had abandoned them, expecting humanity to collapse without guidance. They were going to be surprised. 5 years had taught humanity what it was truly capable of. Rashid wiped the sweat from his forehead and looked up at the skeletal framework stretching 3 kilometers above him. The Titan shipyards had been nothing but an idea and empty space when construction began. Now they represented the largest engineering project in human history. 16,000 workers operated in synchronized chaos, welding together humanity's first deep space colony ship. Section 47 reports hull integrity at 98%. His assistant called over the comm. Rashid checked the blueprints on his tablet. No alien designs anywhere in the data. Every calculation, every innovation, every failure and success had been purely human. The galaxy thought abandoning humanity would cripple them. Instead, it forced them to become something they should have been all along, independent. The economic collapse of the first year had been brutal. Unemployment reached 40% globally. Famines killed millions in regions dependent on alien agricultural technology. But humanity adapted. The brain drain reversed as scientists returned from galactic universities. Without alien oversight, human researchers explored theories the galaxy deemed inefficient or impossible. Dr. Yuki's laboratory was proof of that. "You're going to want to see this," she said when Rashid visited after his shift. The facility was hidden deep beneath the lunar surface. Security clearances required DNA verification and 3 separate background checks. What humanity was developing here couldn't fall into the wrong hands. Yuki led him to the main testing chamber. In the center floated a metal sphere no larger than a basketball. Arcs of violet energy danced across its surface. "What am I looking at?" Rashid asked. "The future," Yuki replied. "We call it the Cascade Drive. It doesn't tear through space like alien FTL engines. It rides quantum probability waves, faster, smoother, and about 60% more efficient." Rashid stared. "You're serious?" "We tested it yesterday. A probe equipped with the drive reached Alpha Centauri in 14 hours. The old alien drives would take 3 weeks. Does Earth Command know?" Yuki nodded. "They're already planning deep space exploration missions, places the galaxy said were too distant to matter. We're going to prove them wrong." The cultural shift was equally profound. Schools taught cooperation and creative problem-solving instead of rote memorization. National borders still existed, but the old rivalries seemed childish now. When the species itself was isolated, fighting over lines on a map felt absurd. Art reflected the change. Museums filled with paintings and sculptures celebrating human resilience. Music shifted toward collaborative compositions where dozens of artists contributed to single pieces. The greatest compliment a creator could receive was that their work felt human. Then came the asteroid. Commander Liu first spotted it during a routine patrol, a chunk of rock and ice 17 kilometers across, tumbling through space on a direct collision course with New Singapore Station. The station housed 40,000 people and served as humanity's primary communications hub for the outer colonies. The old alien early warning systems would have caught it months ago, but humanity had stripped those systems out, and their replacement network had gaps. They had 3 weeks. Traditional deflection won't work, Liu reported to the Emergency Council. We don't have enough fuel to move something that massive with our current propulsion systems. Yuki spoke up from her station on Luna. What about using the Cascade drive as a gravity tether? Silence filled the channel. It's never been tested for anything except propulsion, one of the council members protested. Then we test it now, Liu said, because if we don't, 40,000 people die. The prototype was mounted on a heavy-duty mining vessel in 36 hours. Liu volunteered to pilot it personally. The plan was mathematically sound but practically insane. Activate the Cascade drive at specific frequencies to create a localized gravity well. Use that well to gradually shift the asteroid's trajectory. If the calculations were wrong by even a fraction, the drive could tear the ship apart. Rashid watched from the Titan shipyards as Liu's vessel approached the asteroid. The entire network went silent. Millions of people across dozens of stations held their breath. The Cascade drive activated. Violet energy erupted across space. The asteroid began to shift. 0.1%, 0.5%, 1%. It's working, Yuki whispered. For 6 hours, Liu held position. The mining vessel shuddered and groaned. Hull plates cracked. 3 separate systems failed, but Liu refused to disengage. The asteroid passed New Singapore with 12 kilometers to spare. Humanity erupted in celebration, but the scientists were already analyzing the data. The Cascade drive had performed beyond all projections. Its gravity manipulation capabilities opened entire new fields of research. 3 days later, the colony ship Perseverance launched from Titan shipyards. 10,000 volunteers aboard, heading for a star system 60 light-years away. No permission requested from any galactic authority. No shared maps or alien guidance. Rashid stood at the observation window watching the massive vessel depart. Its hull bore a simple inscription in 50 languages. We choose our own stars. A junior engineer approached him. Sir, we're receiving requests from 5 other colonies. They all want their own deep space vessels. Rashid smiled. Then we'd better start building. The galaxy had thought isolation would break humanity. Instead, it revealed what humans could accomplish when they stopped asking for permission, when they stopped trying to fit into someone else's vision of civilization. The Cascade drive proved they could innovate beyond alien knowledge. New Singapore proved they could overcome challenges the galaxy never prepared them for. The Perseverance proved they were ready to claim their place in the universe. Not as subordinates, not as clients, as equals who earned their position through determination and ingenuity. Humanity was standing alone, and that was making them stronger than the galaxy ever imagined possible. The distress signal cut through static like a scream. Captain Diana checked the readings twice before trusting them. Her survey ship Perseverance had been mapping uncharted systems for 8 months, documenting worlds the galaxy deemed worthless. This sector sat beyond the recognized borders, a cosmic backwater ignored by the great powers. Source is planetary, First Officer Bernard reported. Continuous broadcast on multiple frequencies, automated, probably running for years. Science Officer Priya pulled up spectral analysis. Civilization present, technology level roughly equivalent to our 20th century, but something's wrong with their sun. Output fluctuations are off the charts. Diana studied the data, a whole world crying for help that no one answered. She knew that feeling. Change course, she ordered. Let's see what's happening. The planet appeared on their screens 3 hours later. Ochre continents beneath green-tinged clouds. Cities visible from orbit, but far fewer than a world this size should support. The distress signal originated from what appeared to be their largest population center. "Life signs?" Deanna asked. Priya's expression darkened. 3 billion used to be significantly more. I'm detecting massive underground construction. They're abandoning the surface. The sun was killing them. Stellar fluctuations were cooking the planet, making surface life increasingly impossible. They were building underground warrens, trying to save what population they could. The distress signal was a last desperate hope that someone out there might care. Bernard turned to Diana. "We should report this and move on. First contact protocols require authorization from Earth Command." "Earth Command is 8 months away at best," Diana countered. "Exactly, and we have no idea if these people even want our help." Priya interrupted. "I'm detecting their language structure. The AI can establish basic translation in about 6 hours. Diana made her decision. "We establish contact, learn what they need. If we can help, we help. Humanity was abandoned once. I won't do that to someone else." The crew voted, 18 in favor, 5 opposed, democracy in action. The Rilth people responded. To their hail with confusion bordering on panic. They'd broadcast their distress for 12 years without a single response. Many had concluded the universe was empty except for them. Now a ship from the stars sat in their orbit, offering assistance. Milos, their lead scientist, became the primary contact. His first question, translated haltingly by the AI, was simple. "What do you want from us?" Diana understood immediately. They expected conquest or exploitation. That's what powerful species did in their imagination. "We want to help," Diana replied. "No payment, no conditions, we help because we can." Milos didn't believe her at first. Human engineers descended to the surface and studied the Rilth's underground construction. The designs were functional but inefficient. They would save perhaps 20% of the population. The rest would die. "We can't stop your sun's fluctuations," Diana explained to the Rilth Council. "But we can help you adapt. Our species survived ice ages, volcanic winters, asteroid impacts. We learned to live anywhere." Over 3 months, human specialists taught the Rilth new techniques, advanced hydroponics that worked in low-light conditions, geothermal energy extraction, water recycling systems, structural engineering for deeper, safer warrens. Nothing the galaxy would consider revolutionary, but to the Rilth it was salvation. Milos worked 18-hour days learning everything humans would teach. "Why do you do this?" he asked Diana during a rare break. "Your people gain nothing from our survival." "We gain the knowledge that we helped," Diana said. "That has value, maybe the only value that really matters." The cultural exchange went both ways. Rilth mathematics operated on base 14 systems that opened new approaches to quantum calculations. Their music used harmonic structures human composers had never considered. Philosophy that emphasized collective survival resonated deeply with humanity's recent history. Then the Torjesh Armada arrived. 12 warships materialized at the system's edge. Admiral Grath's vessel broadcast on all frequencies. "Human ship, you are in violation of quarantine protocols. Cease contact with the native population immediately." Diana felt her blood turn cold. The galaxy had found them. "We're beyond galactic borders," she transmitted back. "These people aren't part of the Council. We're violating nothing." "Human expansion threatens stability," Grath replied. "Your presence contaminates developing civilizations. You will withdraw or be removed." Bernard pulled up tactical displays. 12-to-1 odds, their weapons outgun us significantly. Diana opened a channel to Earth Command. Help would take months to arrive. They were alone. The Rilth watched from their planet, terrified. Milos transmitted a desperate message. "Please don't leave. You're the first species that ever helped us." That decided it. "We're not leaving," Diana told Grath. These people need help. If you want to stop us, you'll have to go through us. The Torjesh fleet advanced, but then something unexpected happened. 3 ships broke formation. They transmitted codes identifying themselves as members of species who'd secretly opposed humanity's quarantine. They'd been watching human expansion, waiting for a chance to make contact. "Admiral," one of them broadcast, "we cannot support this action. These humans are providing humanitarian assistance. If you attack them, you attack us as well." More ships arrived. Human vessels summoned by Diana's emergency transmission to nearby colonies. They were outgunned individually, but their cascade drives made them faster and more maneuverable. Grath faced a choice: start an interstellar war or back down. He chose wisdom. "This isn't over," he transmitted, "but I won't be the one to start a war today." The Torjesh fleet withdrew. Milos stood on his planet's surface, tears streaming down his face, watching human ships defend his world against an overwhelming force. His people voted that same day. They would establish formal relations with humanity, not the galaxy that ignored them. Diana filed her report with Earth Command. They weren't alone in being abandoned. The galaxy was full of species that needed what humanity could offer: hope. Ambassador Roland had attended hundreds of diplomatic functions, but nothing prepared him for this. Unity Station floated in neutral space, constructed jointly by 15 species over the past 6 months. Each had been rejected by or abandoned from the Galactic Council for various reasons. Now they gathered in a chamber designed to accommodate wildly different biologies: methane breathers in sealed environments, silicon-based life forms on heated platforms, humans breathing standard oxygen alongside a dozen other carbon-based species. "The Independent Coalition will now come to order," Roland announced. He'd insisted on that title, not Human Coalition or Earth Alliance. This was bigger than humanity. It had to be. The Rilth representative Milos spoke first, his translator rendering his harmonics into understandable speech. "My people were deemed too primitive for galactic contact. We were left to die while our sun turned hostile. Humanity taught us we matter anyway." Next came Kelthara Ambassador Shira. Her species resembled crystalline formations that communicated through light pulses. "The Council demanded we militarize. We are a peaceful species. They called us weak and severed all relations. We were isolated for refusing to become something we're not." Around the chamber, similar stories emerged. The Voss, rejected for their unusual biology. The Sheen, abandoned for their pacifist philosophy. The Drayan, quarantined for asking too many questions about council corruption. 15 species, each cast aside for failing to conform. "What we share is rejection," Roland said. "But what we're building is acceptance. This coalition exists to prove that different approaches to civilization have equal value. We pool our strengths without demanding anyone surrender their identity." The vote to formalize the coalition passed unanimously. Humanity's contribution went beyond technology. Yes, the cascade drive was shared freely with all members. Yes, human agricultural techniques fed billions. Yes, medical knowledge crossed surprising biological boundaries. But the real gift was philosophical. Cooperation over competition, fair trade over exploitation, mutual respect over hierarchy. These weren't revolutionary concepts, but in a galaxy dominated by the Council's rigid power structures, they were radical. The economic impact shocked everyone. Coalition trade networks bypassed Council taxation and regulations. Species that had struggled for resources under galactic oversight now thrived. Technological exchange happened at unprecedented speeds. A Rilth mathematician would solve a problem overnight, share it freely, and wake to find 3 other species had built on her work. The Galactic Council noticed. Economic pressure came first. Any species trading with coalition members faced tariff increases. Then propaganda. Council media painted humans as manipulative empire builders, coalition members as naive pawns. Some species wavered. The Kelthara received an offer, returned to. The Council abandoned humanity, received full membership. Shira's response was broadcasted across all coalition channels. "We were rejected for being ourselves. We will not be accepted for betraying those who showed us genuine friendship. Our answer is no." Then came the attack. 3 coalition supply ships traveling from Rilth space to human colonies. Standard cargo, medical supplies, food, cultural artifacts. They never arrived. Roland stood in the Unity Station command center watching recovered footage from the escort vessel's final moments. Unmarked ships, military-grade weapons. The attack was professional and brutal. 200 beings dead, 4 species represented among the casualties. Black box data shows the weapons' signatures match several council member militaries, intelligence officer Fatima reported. But the ships themselves are unmarked, mercenaries probably. The Coalition Council convened in emergency session. Some members demanded military retaliation. Others feared giving the Council exactly the excuse they wanted to crush the Coalition entirely. "We need evidence," Roland argued. "Not speculation, hard proof of who ordered this." Fatima volunteered. "Let me infiltrate Council space. I can pass as a merchant. I have contacts among sympathetic species still inside their territory." It took 6 weeks. Fatima worked her way through the galactic black market, buying information and selling carefully crafted lies. What she found was worse than anyone suspected. The decision to abandon humanity hadn't been unanimous. It had been orchestrated. Powerful council factions feared human emotional intelligence. They'd fabricated evidence of human aggression, coerced smaller species through economic pressure, silenced opposition through blackmail and threats. The attack on the convoy was meant to provoke a war the Council would use to justify destroying the Coalition completely. Fatima transmitted everything: documents, recordings, financial records. The conspiracy went back 30 years. Roland faced a choice: keep the evidence secret and avoid confrontation, or expose it and risk everything. He chose transparency. Coalition broadcasts filled every accessible channel. The evidence laid bare for anyone to see: how the Council manipulated weaker species, how they'd lied about humanity's threat level, how they'd profited from the systems they claimed were necessary for galactic stability. The response was immediate. Young members of Council species started questioning their leaders. Why had they believed the propaganda? Why had they accepted the hierarchy? Protests erupted on 17 worlds, not violent revolution but peaceful demands for accountability. Several progressive species broke away from the Council entirely. They applied for coalition membership. Others declared neutrality, waiting to see which system would prove more stable. The Council splintered into factions, hardliners doubling down on isolation and control, reformers calling for dialogue with the Coalition, moderates paralyzed by indecision. Through it all, the Coalition remained steady. They didn't gloat, didn't demand apologies, simply continued being what they'd always claimed to be: an alliance of equals working toward mutual prosperity. Roland received applications from 12 new species within a month. Humanity's population now spread across 40 colony worlds. The Coalition represented a quarter of known space. The old galactic order crumbled under contradictions it could no longer hide. Milos visited Roland privately. "Do you think we'll win?" he asked. Roland considered the question. "I think we already have, because we're not trying to conquer, we're offering an alternative, and alternatives always win eventually, because they give people a choice they didn't know they had." The galaxy was changing, not through force but through example. 25 years after the silence began, Earth sang. President Chen stood at the observation platform watching delegates from 70 species arrive for the Silver Anniversary Summit. The orbital rings connecting hundreds of stations created a web of light around the planet. Ships of every design imaginable docked at ports that hadn't existed a generation ago. This was what humanity built from abandonment. The old Galactic Council barely existed anymore. Half its members had joined the Coalition. Another quarter maintained cautious neutrality. Only a handful of hardliners remained, clinging to outdated hierarchies. Today, even they were coming. Admiral Grath led the delegation. The warrior who'd once threatened to destroy human ships now walked through Unity Station as a petitioner. Age had weathered him. His once rigid posture bent slightly, but his eyes carried something new: humility. "President Chen," he said formally, "on behalf of the former council members, we request admission to the independent coalition." The irony wasn't lost on anyone present. The species that had abandoned humanity now begged to join what humans had built. Private meetings happened first. The coalition was divided. Rilth representatives voiced strong opposition. "They left us to die. Why should we help them now?" The Kelthara argued for acceptance. "We were abandoned. We know that pain. Should we inflict it on others, even those who wronged us?" Humanity stayed carefully neutral. This had to be the coalition's decision, not a human decree. Owen attended the summit as an elder statesman, the same analyst who'd first detected the abandonment. He'd lived the entire journey. Now in his 70s, he requested a private meeting with Grath. They met in a small conference room. No aides, no recording devices, just two old beings who'd watched galaxies change. "Why?" Owen asked simply. Grath was silent for a long moment. "Fear," he finally said. "Your species has this capacity for connection that transcends logic. You make friends with species you should see as competitors. You help those who can't benefit you. It didn't make sense. We thought it was a weakness we could exploit or a threat we could contain. And now I understand it was the strength we lacked." Grath's translator conveyed something like sorrow. "We built an empire on hierarchy and control. You built a coalition on cooperation and choice. Our system collapsed. Yours thrives. The evidence speaks clearly." "What do you want from this?" Owen asked. "Really want?" "To learn," Grath said. "To teach our children a better way, to maybe, after enough generations, become worthy of what you've built." Owen reported the conversation to the Coalition Council. Chen addressed the full assembly the next day. "The former council comes to us broken and humbled. Some say we should reject them as they rejected us. That would be justice." She paused. "But justice without mercy is just revenge. If we truly believe in our principles, we must offer them the same chance we've given everyone else. Not forgiveness, not trust, but opportunity." The conditions were strict. Former council members must abolish their hierarchical control systems, embrace coalition principles completely, share all technology freely, most difficult, acknowledge their mistakes publicly and teach future generations about their failures. "We're not asking you to forget," Chen explained to Grath. "We're asking you to remember, to make your shame productive, to ensure your children never repeat your errors." The vote took 3 days. In the end, conditional acceptance passed by a narrow margin. But there was one more surprise. Milos stood before the assembly. "The Rilth proposed that humanity take leadership of the unified government. You brought us together. You maintained principles when others failed. This should be humanity's coalition." 12 other species seconded the motion. Chen's response was immediate: no. The chamber erupted in confusion. "Humanity didn't save itself from one hierarchy just to create another," Chen continued. "Leadership will rotate among all member species on an annual basis. Every species, regardless of size or technology level, gets equal time. That's not just policy, that's our core principle. The moment we accept permanent authority is the moment we become what we opposed." That refusal convinced the last skeptics. A species offered unlimited power and turned it down. That wasn't manipulation, that was integrity. The Charter of the Galactic Union of Independent Worlds was signed 3 weeks later. Every species equal. Decisions by consensus. Earth chosen as diplomatic headquarters not by human request, but by unanimous vote. Joint projects were announced immediately. Terraforming initiatives using combined technologies. Deep space exploration beyond known boundaries. a unified response to an approaching extragalactic phenomenon human sensors had detected. Educational exchanges brought young beings from dozens of species to study together. A human child and a Rilth adolescent, and a young Kelthara learning mathematics from each other, the future taking shape in classrooms across the galaxy. Owen returned to Luna one final time. He walked through the diplomatic quarter where this all began, where he'd watched the last alien ship depart 25 years ago. Now it bustled with representatives from 70 species, not rulers and subordinates, partners. A young human researcher approached him. "Sir, they're saying you were there at the beginning. Is it true we were completely abandoned?" Owen smiled. "We were, and it was the best thing that could have happened to us." "How can you say that?" "Because isolation taught us self-reliance, and self-reliance taught us we didn't need permission to be who we are. When the galaxy finally came back, they found a species that had moved beyond needing their approval. The first mixed species colony ship launched the next day. Humans, Rilth, Kelthara, Voss, and 6 other species heading to a new world, not as separate groups but as one community. Chen watched it depart. The ship's hull carried a message in 20 languages: built together, stronger together. Humanity had been abandoned by the galaxy. They'd chosen to stand alone. In standing alone, they'd learned to stand together. And in standing together, they'd shown the galaxy what unity truly meant. Not conformity, not hierarchy, not control. Choice, cooperation, hope. The transmission went out to all worlds. You are welcome here.